Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth GatorFitClinic of the semester. My name is Nellie and I'm the Personal Training Student Manager at Mashuv Wellness Center. Today I'll be discussing how vital the nervous system is to our overall fitness and how training our nervous and muscular systems can help us with our gains, hence the brains and gains. I have to say, I'm excited about presenting this clinic because this is one of my favorite realms in kinesiology to study. Specifically, how we utilize sensory information to help us move about our environment and how it can improve our fitness. So here's a quick overview of today's clinic. First, we will quickly go over the anatomical structure of the nervous system and its divisions. Second, we will briefly study how the nervous system interacts with our muscles and environment. Next, the bulk of the presentation will be about the main aspects of neuromotor exercise: agility, balance, coordination, gait, and proprioception. We will go over their definitions and how they play a role in our daily fitness activities. Lastly, we will go over sample exercises that involve one or more facets of the neuromotor exercise and how you can try it yourself at home or safely at the gym. So, the nervous system is compiled of two major divisions: the central nervous system, otherwise denoted as CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, or PNS. The CNS is comprised of our brain, the information superhighway of the body, and the spinal cord. Their roles are to act as a conduit for conveying and relaying information from our environment to the appropriate muscles and their joints. Meanwhile, the PNS is comprised of all the spinal and cranial nerves and the ganglia located throughout the body. The PNS has two subdivisions: the somatic nervous system, SNS, and the autonomic nervous system, ANS. Think of the somatic nervous system as the sense and response system, as it designates certain nerves to be sensory or afferent nerves and motor or efferent nerves. We will be mostly discussing this subdivision of the PNS. The autonomic nervous system is better known as your fight or flight or rest and digest responses, and its role in the body is to maintain homeostasis with other body systems, like regulating heart rate. Although crucial to the way our body responds to exercise, the ANS is completely involuntary. We do not control the system, unlike the SNS, which is voluntary. Now, let's talk about the nervous system. Let's talk about how the nervous system interacts with our muscles and the environment. Now, this is a pretty simplified version of the information response process I created, so I hope everyone can read and understand this. Nevertheless, we as humans interact with our environment in a variety of ways. And the way we interact and process our environment will eventually tell us how to appropriately respond. We first start off with a stimulus or a signal that catches our attention. This stimulus can be visual, such as a flying object hurling towards you, or it can be auditory, like a loud noise or an alarm, or it can be tactile or felt, such as touching something extremely hot, like a stove. The sensory or afferent neurons attend to this stimulus and they gather the information at a very fast rate and sends it to the brain, sometimes the spinal cord, if it's a simple reflex. The brain processes the information and asks itself, how should I respond to this? The brain then decides how to respond to the stimulus and sends their information to the appropriate muscles and joints. Then, those specific muscles execute the response or reflex. A real life example would be a sprinter before they have to run, while on their blocks. When the judge fires the gun, the sprinter takes in the information auditory stimulus from the ears to the brain via the afferent neurons, and then the brain interprets the stimulus as time to run, then sends the information to the muscles via the efferent neurons, executing the response to start sprinting. This entire process takes a fraction of a second, which is fascinating. So, you might be wondering, why do I need to know this, Nellie? Why is this important? Well, to put it simply, we are constantly identifying and responding to stimuli every day, and you may not even be consciously aware of most of them. Probably because you already have a conditioned response to them. Take, for example, an uneven sidewalk. We may already see or identify an uneven walking surface ahead of time. And before we reach that surface, we know how we would walk over it, such as changing our walking patterns or even completely avoiding it. We already have that rehearsed response to walking over uneven surfaces. But what about walking over a bounce beam? How do we know how to walk over it without falling over? How does our body adjust itself to not fall over and remain balanced? It's that combination of cognitive and physical awareness that we're able to control and respond to our surroundings. And the more we can become aware of our surroundings, the better we can adapt to them. But how can we practice this? By incorporating a type of training modality called neuromotor exercise, or functional fitness training to other fitness professionals. Neuromotor exercises are exercises that train the body to prepare for everyday activities, utilizing key motor skills such as agility, balance, coordination, gait, and proprioception. And we will get into the definitions for each skill next. Neuromotor exercise is essentially maintaining constant stability over static movements, like standing or sitting still, and dynamic movements, like walking or jumping. Neuromotor exercise training is recommended by the American College of Sports Medicine, or ACSM, as an essential aspect of physical health for most adults, right up there with cardiorespiratory, resistance, and flexibility training, as stated in their position stand from 2011. The data on the long-term effects of neuromotor exercise, as well as training recommendations, is limited, but the benefits are significant for an adult's physical health, as it can potentially decrease the risk of injury, especially in older adults. So the first skill we're going to dive into is agility. We already have a good sense of what it means to be agile, especially if you watch sports. The definition of agility is the ability to change your body's position quickly and easily. In order to be agile, you must be able to quickly and smoothly transition from moving either forward, backward, laterally, or diagonally. The best example where you can see agility are athletes in pivot-heavy sports, such as football, basketball, and soccer. In those sports, the athletes have to be agile in order to move past or shake off an opponent. You might have heard the term stopping on a dime, which an athlete can be running in a particular direction, but then quickly change directions without hesitation, sometimes stunning an opponent. The next skill we have here is balance, or the ability to maintain equilibrium within the body during static and dynamic movement. No matter what, we are always constantly trying to maintain balance, even when we're sitting in a chair, standing on 2 feet, or walking. Fun fact, we never truly stand still because our center of mass is always shifting. So our body, namely the postural muscles like our abs and upper back, is constantly trying to maintain equilibrium. With that said, balance is dependent on a few factors, like movement. Are we walking on our feet or hands? Surface, is the surface smooth and even or uneven and slippery? So look at the person on the tightrope and how much effort that they have to give to stay upright and balanced on a tightrope. Weight is important too. Are we carrying weight? And if so, where is the weight and how are we carrying it? In front or behind us? Vision. We become more unbalanced when vision is obstructed because we heavily rely on visual cues to keep us balanced. And lastly, hearing. Our hearing surprisingly affects our balance due to the structures within the ear that are sensitive to motion, like the semicircular canals. Ear disorders like vertigo can impact our balance, so exercise caution if this applies to you. The next skill is coordination, or the ability to make smooth, controlled, accurate movements within the body. Coordination is influenced by a few factors, such as the speed of the movement, timing, direction, and the force that the muscle exerts. The best example you can find for coordination are dancers. They have amazing coordination because some dance forms rely on timing and speed to keep up with the rhythm of the music and other dancers in the number. The timing and speed doesn't have to be fast necessarily, although in the GIF, these samba dancers are moving quite quickly. Take for instance, ballet, known to be a slow and graceful and fluid dance. If you move too fast and out of rhythm, the dance number will not look as aesthetically pleasing as it should be. The next skill we'll be discussing is GAIT, or the rhythmic cyclical movement patterns of the lower extremities, or simply your walking and running mechanics. To be honest, I won't be spending too much time on GAIT, because GAIT becomes more of a factor if you have some sort of abnormality or injury, but I will still mention its importance. Of course, we rely on GAIT to move about our surroundings, and we always follow a pattern when we walk, called our GAIT cycle. I won't go into detail about the GAIT cycle, but just understand that we rely on balance and coordination in order to have successful GAIT, and without it, we wouldn't be able to walk or run effectively. Like I mentioned, GAIT can be affected by abnormality or injury, and we can adjust our GAIT to still maintain locomotion, even with walking aids like crutches or canes. Lastly, we have the skill of proprioception, or the ability to be aware of your body in relation to space at any given point in time. Proprioception is quite difficult to explain, but we all have a sense of what it is. We basically are aware of our movements throughout the environment thanks to proprioceptors that are deep within the skin, which are sensitive to movement and pressure. And we continually adjust ourselves to maintain equilibrium in that environment, or as I call it, continuous error detection and correction. Let's use an example, like a walking lunge. This exercise is quite dynamic, and it requires constant balance in order to stay upright and not fall over. We can sense when we feel unbalanced, and in order to not fall out of balance, we continuously shift our weight to maintain balance and not fall. That's essentially proprioception. In this GIF, with the person and the basketball, they are moving the ball all along the wall, moving it up and down and side to side. They're feeling the equilibrium of the ball as they guide it, so that it doesn't fall off the wall. With proprioception, we know and understand it's there. However, it's hard to describe this feeling. Now, onto the fun stuff. The sample exercises you can do at home or at the gym that would improve one or more aspects of neuromotor exercise, among other physical benefits as well. The way this section will turn out is that I'll give a general exercise or piece of equipment that you can adapt to your preferences and name their benefits. The ACSM recommends neuromotor exercise training to be done 2 to 3 times per week for a total of 60 minutes or 20 to 30 minute sessions. The first exercises listed are a variation of ladder drills using an agility ladder, which you might have seen or used before. They are ladders, usually of varying length and size, that you place on the ground and step through and around the squares, like so. Now, I absolutely love ladder drills. They are a staple in my clients' fitness regimens. If you're my client, you will most likely be doing ladder work at one point with me. Not only are they versatile, you can find literally countless drills online, but they are easily adaptable for everyone's fitness level. For me, I like using this more so as a warm-up tool to get the client's blood flowing to the muscles and the brain, because it forces them to think and coordinate their movements across the ladder. Some benefits include agility, like its namesake, coordination, proprioception, since you have to be aware of the ladder and promptly adjust if you make a mistake, as well as explosiveness, or how quick you can transition from a stagnant state to a fast-paced state. You can find agility ladders at your local Target or any sporting goods retail stores, like Dick's Sporting Goods, or online. The cost points are usually between $10 to $30, although I've seen more expensive from premium brands. I'm personally a fan of Skills, and I've used their ladders in the past, and they're pretty affordable, but find the ladder that fits your budget. The next set of exercises you can perform are on a stability ball, like the one pictured. I'm sure that we've all seen them and played on them for fun, but they have many benefits to them, such as improving your balance and proprioception, as it usually makes you utilize your core and postural muscles to stay upright and balanced. Core work is the typical reason to be using a stability ball, so ab exercises like crunches or even planks can be performed on a stability ball. You can also perform typical bench exercises like shoulder and chest presses for added difficulty, since you now also have to balance yourself to stay stable. I should warn you that using a stability ball can cause disorientation and imbalance while using, resulting in falls, so please use caution when exercising with a stability ball. Another use of stability balls can be for non-fitness purposes, as they are great alternatives for office chairs. They are much better for people with lower back pain, since it takes the pressure off the lower back from sitting in traditional chairs. Stability balls are also affordable, with a cost point between $10 to $25. The next set of exercises will be with the BOSU ball. This piece of equipment is great for improving balance and proprioception, as you must continuously balance yourself on such an unstable surface. The types of exercises that you can perform on the BOSU ball are squats, like how this person is doing, simple one-leg standing, planks, which are also great to do on the BOSU ball, and even push-ups. For these exercises, you can use either side of the BOSU ball, the ball side or the flat side, for added difficulty. These BOSU balls are not cheap. They average about $100 a pop, so don't feel obligated to purchase one if you can't afford it. However, these are available at MSU for use, so once we're finally able to work out in the gym, you can definitely use it for your workouts. Moving on to cone drills, which are great to improve agility, balance, coordination, and proprioception. And there are literally hundreds of cone drill variations out there, as they are a staple in many sports conditioning routines. Some examples of cone drills are the T drill, testing forward, backward, and lateral movements, shuttle drill or the shuttle run, side to side shuffle drill, and a zigzag drill, seen in this GIF, where the individual has to quickly change directions around each cone. Cones are affordable and come in different shapes and sizes. However, you can also use makeshift cones by using cups or water bottles, getting creative with your environment. Now, we are moving on to squat variations. And some variations have more benefits than others. Take, for example, single leg squats, seen in this GIF. Such performing a single leg squat tests your ability to maintain balance from such a small base of support. On the other hand, side-to-side jump squats are better at incorporating more skills, like agility, balance, coordination, and proprioception, as you must quickly transition from a squat to a lateral jump back to a squat, while staying balanced and coordinated and testing your agility. Even with traditional squats with weight, proprioception is still needed to detect any changes in form throughout the squat, especially weight shifts, in order to equally balance weight throughout the body and not favoring one side or leaning too far forward or back. Side note, don't be afraid to get creative with your weight. You can use a heavy backpack as your makeshift weight. We already discussed BOSU ball squats, which is great for balance and proprioception. However, no matter what variation you do, please make sure you have a good squat technique before you add excessive weight or squat on uneven surfaces in order to avoid injury. Lastly, we'll be talking about plank variations. Planks, a great core exercise, can be adapted in many ways, just like squats. Planks can be static or dynamic, depending on your comfort level. And we can easily progress it to where you can test your balance, like up and down planks, switching from a full plank to a half plank, or opposite arm and leg lift planks, seen with the individual at the top, simultaneously lifting your opposite arm and leg while maintaining stability, which is a definitely tough plank. I've alluded to planks on stability and BOSU balls, and you can see the individual performing the plank at the bottom, using the flat side of the BOSU ball to perform the plank. Like with squats, please have an understanding of a proper plank technique before venturing out to different variations. Planks are great because you don't need a lot of equipment, maybe just a yoga mat or non-slip towel for comfort. In closing, neuromotor exercise is an essential facet of physical health, important for maintaining awareness of our bodies and in relation to our environment. The long-term benefits of neuromotor exercise are still unknown, but there's evidence that we can decrease injury risk, which is important as we age. We can train our nervous system to continuously recognize and respond to stimuli at a quicker, more efficient pace appropriate to our environment. Neuromotor exercise training should be done about 2 to 3 times a week for a collective 60 minutes total. It requires little to no equipment, depending on the exercise and piece of equipment. Anyways, thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something new and enjoyed this clinic. The next GatorFitClinic will take place on November 6th, titled Working Out on a Budget, where Juan will discuss how to find cost-friendly workout gear and equipment. We can all attest that workout equipment can be expensive, but there are ways to buy them cheaper, such as secondhand. This will be an incredibly useful clinic to attend, so please don't miss it. Our next event is the third trainer AMA session, and for that, we will be discussing flexibility and fitness. So please get your questions ready to go, and we will answer them live on Instagram. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me at purstring@mail.sfsu.edu, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. I hope you have a wonderful day, and please stay safe and mask up. Goodbye for now.